Welcome to the Intercut podcast, the weekly show. Wait, I need to hit record. Going over the TV, movies, and streaming that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, NASA took out a restraining order against him. It's Arturo Zurita.
There's like 20 this could be for. It could be Space Force. It could be one of the dozen other, I feel like, space movies we've been getting this month. But I actually realized what it is. It's Moonfall. I completely forgot you and I saw Moonfall together.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Moonfall.
Might as well choose one of the movies that we actually saw in person.
In person, in theaters, with the whole Dolby experience.
Exactly, yeah. Unfortunately, not hanging out anymore. Our fun time together, our vacation came to an end. I had to return home and collect my puppy. But we had a lot of fun, and we're not done putting out those videos. We still have our Sundance recaps, part 1, part 2, 4 hours of Sundance coverage coming to y'all this Wednesday. But we wanted to hit y'all up with a live stream tonight, talk about some of the things we've been missing, and also let everyone know that we will be live streaming again 12 hours from now as we anticipate the revealing of the 93rd Annual Academy Award nominations. I want to say it's the 93rd. It'd be a little embarrassing if it's the 94th. It's the 4th? Yeah, it's probably the 4th.
I think it's the 94th.
All right, well, we'll do the 93rd and we'll do the 94th Oscar nominations tomorrow morning.
And if you're lucky, maybe even the 95th.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff coming from Intercut later this week. But still, plenty of stuff coming on this week's show. This is what we are going to try and make sort of like a weekly live stream on the channel of what we're watching and what's new to see, and maybe some spoiler catch-ups with various TV shows or movies that are on our mind. The weekly what we've been watching live stream. Try and hit you all up on Mondays on the channel. So hopefully becomes a fun way to keep y'all up with whatever we're watching, whatever's the latest, and keeps us talking about new movies.
Yep.
Anyway, what else should we do on the What We're Watching cast but get into what we're watching? We did get to see two more movies together in person before I departed Chicago. Which way do you want to start out with Jackass or with Moonfall?
Let's start the way that we saw them. We'll start with Moonfall. We got to see it in the way that it's supposed to be seen in Dolby, in theaters, the way Roland Emmerich intended it to. He is the master of disaster. And I think that for everyone who's looking forward to that, I guess you can call it the disaster fair that people just find comfort in, this may fulfill a lot of those things. Compared to a lot of Roland Emmerich's other films, if you click on the man right there, he's come in with what is Day After Tomorrow, Independence Day, pretty much a lot of people's favorites disaster flicks. 2012, this man is responsible for
the original and
the
new one.
If there is an iconic building, this man's probably demolished it.
Exactly.
Yeah, with a lizard, White House, whatever it is. This one does not have the story elements that I would say the other ones even had going for them. I think that this is a movie that sets itself up to be one thing, and then I don't even want to get into spoilers, what that second half of the movie ends up being, what they actually reveal is going on throughout this entire history, because he tries to build himself a little bit of a lore. The problem with that, though, is that you get nothing of that lore. You're here focused on who is it, Patrick Wilson's character, who long ago saw something up in the sky, and he swears it's hiding in the moon or something like that. And everyone's like, nope, no, it's not. They discredited him. Halle Berry never believed in him, and now they're two astronauts who are realizing that they need to look up, I guess, before the moon falls. And I think people are going in this for the effects, and I think the effects deliver on occasion. I don't know how expensive this movie was supposed to be, considering that they pushed it up to what we consider the beginning of the year, not the best moments of the year. They weren't having the biggest faith in it, but there is one specific moment that does happen. After, all of the drama between the family that drags this movie down, I was a big fan of the gravity wave scene. I thought the gravity wave scene was definitely worth the money. But then you don't care about the characters. So I guess that's the only problem with it, is that you're following characters who you don't care if they're going to be there or not. But I see you did not like it in any way, shape, or form. Nothing went well for this man's screening of Moonfall. His chair would not go up.
Yeah, first of all, we started out, and I was in a broken recliner, so that kicked things off not on the nicest note. No, I'm not holding that against the movie. I generally am less of a fan of Roland Emmerich's style of filmmaking in general.
Right.
There's times where it works better. Like, I'm a fan of The Day After Tomorrow.
I feel
I
like he
think
kind
there's-
of even homages it.
Yeah, like there's definitely like recurring things that'll happen through his movies, but like I think there's times where he's able to marry the destruction with a story that you can get invested in a way that like makes it a little more than just the destruction porn aspect of it. I just kind of felt like the story was so cobbled together and like nonsensical in certain points, and when they ultimately reveal like what is causing the moon to fall, it felt like this completely out of left field idea that
Different movie.
yeah, should have been in a different movie. So I don't know. In that aspect, I didn't get into it. I also didn't really find it to be super satisfying in just a destruction aspect. Like, for a movie called Moonfall, about the moon potentially falling to Earth, like, I felt like there was a little too little of like the ominous threat of this crater looming. Like, it did, even Don't Look Up has an approaching meteor. Like, I kind of want to. Do you remember Majora's Mask, the Zelda game? Like, I wanted like a moon fucking hovering over the
You
Earth.
wanted them to wake up every morning,
Yeah.
and when they're having their Dunkin' Donuts coffee, they're like, there's the moon again. An impending doom that, without a doubt, they can't see coming. I see what you mean. You do get it towards the end, because they're like literally racing between the moon. It's like the moon and the earth are like this big and nothing's stopping it between what's happening. But I don't know. Overall, not my favorite of the Roland Emmerichs. Not my favorite of the disaster flicks personally. But I think if you want to just go in to turn off your brain, there are definitely a lot of CGI set pieces there. But personally, I think if you want to go see a big set piece, you need to feel for the characters. Sometimes you feel for the characters a little too much with this other movie that we went into.
Sometimes you physically
definitely
feel
wasn't
for the other characters.
Emotionally, spiritually, too much. This was in a completely different theater. They did not put this bad boy up in a big screen. We were all the way in the back of the cinema for this one, but we were with a group that you just know when you're going to sit down at a movie screening and you're like, yeah, all these strangers that I'm sitting with here, we're about to share a special moment. And I think we had a pretty good crowd for Jackass Forever.
We had the right
fourth
crowd.
in the installment. We had the right crowd, exactly. You had people cheering. I think the kids in front of you were like giving a bunch of the what's it called, Breakfast Club moments.
Yeah.
The people to my right were squirming worse than I was. We had a really good moment with this one. If you have not caught up on any of the Jackass movies, those are all on Paramount Plus, if I'm not mistaken. It's the show that's super difficult to find. But nonetheless, the boys are back. What is it, 10, 11 years later? And they killed it. I thought it was a hysterical movie. I thought it really showcased what kind of the culture that Jackass has had. It's not just that they do these really dumb stuff, and I think it was you who had brought it up. They're not really professionals. They always, there's that iconic thing that lets you know, leave this to the professionals. And Zach's like, these aren't professionals. These are schmoes. These are schmucks from down the street who decided to just capture this on tape. It's not that they're professionals. It's just that they're dumb enough to do it. And I think they come up with some of the dumbest stuff in this one. I went back and started rewatching a bunch of the older ones, and it was also interesting to see how they kind of parallel old stunts they did, trying to one up themselves. And I thought it was really cool. It's like a legacy movie, and I think the subtitle Forever really works, especially with the new cast that they were able to get in, who around the time that the third one would have been coming out, which would have been 2010. I feel like the Eric Andres of the world, the Tyler the Creators, like they were barely getting up there. You know, they were entering the mainstream. They were going to have their shows and the brands that they have now.
That's one of the kind of interesting things about the film, is they are sort of acknowledging their own legacy in a way, and in a way, this is a film about the original cast getting older and not necessarily being able to do some of the stunts, and also about this new cast of people who are coming into the Jackass tentpole or whatever you want to call it, and are so influenced and brought up by these movies. I just think that there's a sense of joy and a sense of humor to these movies that is really contagious and hard to contain. It's just inventive in a way that I don't think modern comedies often reach for. Like it's like I think some of the things they're doing evoke a physical comedy that speaks more to like the silent film era or like Jackie Chan comedies than it does
That's what you mean.
what we mostly get in theaters nowadays. So it's kind of cool to see that spirit alive in some form, even if it is in this deranged, masochistic, weird like sex kink form. But it's a lot of fun, and I think there's just something really special about this crew getting to do these over and over again, watching them pick each other up. And I think part of what makes the movies work is they don't just show you the stunts, but they show you what happens after, and they show you the crew cheering each other on or caring for each other if it does go a little bit wrong. And that ultimately makes it kind of a strangely heartwarming film.
100% agree. What's your favorite stunt?
From the new one, I mean, it's hard to beat the bear one, I feel like.
Bear was pretty good.
It's not like the traditional Jackass stunt, but it's the kind of thing that makes me, like, I think for me, my favorite things are the ones where it's like, how did they convince anybody to get involved with this? Like, who okayed this? How has nobody died doing this? I love seeing some of those. So yeah, do you have a favorite stunt?
Bear one's pretty crazy. The B one, I think that's the one that got the most reactions out of me. Like per second, every new frame was something new.
A new set of horrors. Yeah.
Easily.
Devesh asked, did either of you catch the Impractical Jokers film from like 2-3 years back? I'm not actually super familiar with the Impractical Joker stuff. Like, I know a lot of people really love them, but I don't think I've actually watched their stuff. Have you?
I haven't seen their stuff yet, but we know a lot of people who are fans of them. So it's gonna have to be a show that I catch up on.
Yeah, for sure. So those are the main films that we've been watching. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to catch up on, or should we just move on to some of the TV that we got into?
In terms of movies and theaters, I think that would pretty much be it. It's the series. It's the miniseries that have been killing it at home. Where do you even want to start? Do you want to start with that Luke Skywalker?
Book of Boba Fett, baby.
We'll stick to Hulu instead, or in some places it may be both of them together. But the Pam and Tommy show, you and I were able to get the entirety of the series. I think there's 8 episodes in total. I think I got up to 5. I don't know how far you ended up going.
I've only seen 4 so far, so we're both about halfway through.
About the same way. And so far, if you don't know anything about it, it's Pam and Tommy. It's their sex tape that leaked a while back. I didn't realize that the movie, or the series, also has what's his name as a lead, as a dude who leaks the tape. And I didn't realize that was going to be an element in the story either. Again, being in the middle of it, halfway through, I've heard some things about how they treat his character in the back half that I'm not looking forward to. But overall, I think it's a pretty decent show. It hasn't blown me away, but I really do like the I'm just realizing that he actually is on the poster. I've never seen him. He's right there at the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't
know if that's the same poster that they're using everywhere, though, because I feel like I've seen a poster.
Maybe they cut him off. Right up to the Pam and Tommy. Yeah. But overall, I think all the performances are really well, down to Seth Rogen. I think that they're able to embody the characters to a degree where it's like you feel like if you caught any of their footage on YouTube, like archived, that it would be very reminiscent of that. I think the way that the episodes are structured are done pretty well. The way that they kind of let you look at the industry to a certain degree. It's not as in-depth as people were probably hoping for it to be. But I think it's still pretty raunchy because it's the FX through Hulu. They're able to get into, whatever dialogue they want to get into. I don't think they've gotten as explicit as people are expecting them to get yet.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a possibility.
It's gotten fairly explicit in some parts. I mean, there's a lot of prosthetics work in this show.
Yeah.
That is pretty impressive. I don't know if it's necessarily like fully immersive in the way that maybe some people would hope for from a Pam and Tommy series, but I do think
they want the VR.
I do think there's a lot of really enjoyable kind of like sleazy true crime-ish television happening. Like this is, I think this is kind of giving me what I don't get from some of those Ryan Murphy shows. It's got
that's
that
fair.
ripped from the headlines thing where you're recreating people and scenarios that are familiar, but you're fleshing them out in ways that maybe, like, if you haven't read about it, or if you haven't done the article, like if you haven't looked at the Rolling Stone article, you might not know all these details. It's pretty silly in its approach, and sometimes that makes me feel like it's a little bit like, I don't know, trashier of a show, but it makes me kind of laugh a lot of the time. I find it more entertaining than I find it to be quality, but like I'm enjoying watching it. I like having it on. I've watched a couple episodes multiple times because of whether we're working. Caitlin watches half an episode, I watch half an episode. So I don't know. I think it's a good time, even if it's not necessarily like the most historically compelling take on the Pam Anderson. Like I don't know if that's necessarily a story that holds up to this kind of treatment, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Well, they try to get in there. There's this, I mean, the whole series begins with this idea of it kind of being like a violation on her as she's seeking her employment, as she's going through her relationship with Tommy. That's a big aspect of it. I just don't think the show, at least from what we've seen so far, handles the dramatic, elevated aspects, as well as someone like Craig Gillespie can do, because the man's done I, Tonya. He knows how to take a story that's true, flip it on itself, make it entertaining, and then also pitch it for awards. This falls for me right in between that and Cruella, because I think he just knows how to get that sweet spot. But overall, it's been pretty decent.
Yeah, and I like all the actors on it. There's a little bit of disagreement in our live stream comments here over whether or not Lily James is fully pulling it off. I like her so far on the show. Sebastian Stan,
she's great.
I've been reluctant to come around on Sebastian Stan, as like I generally have the anti-Marvel bias whenever I can. But like between this and Fresh, he's having a pretty strong start to the year.
Yes, sir. Monday's over on, I want to say, Showtime as well. The dude's been killing it in the big movies, in the smaller movies. Hey, call it a feature, call it a series. The man's going to be there. He's going to show up for you, dude.
Yeah. And then I always enjoy seeing Seth Rogen. I mean, I think he's just
he's decent,
a gifted performer. Even if like his character is, I don't know if he's maybe the most fleshed out. It's very like typical Seth Rogen so far in this story.
What do you feel about the series? We've seen this with House of Gucci. I'm pretty sure, I doubt he asked I, Tonya and the estate for permission there, but them not getting permission from Pam and Tommy being figures that are alive only because you're talking about a story in which a big thing that they're trying to get into is, are they even supposed to be seeing something this private? So in your opinion, just the fact that the show is commenting on it, right? You should be able to make whatever you want. Like legally, there is a law that allows you to be able to make a movie on any prolific person, no problem. But if the content, I guess, movie, show that you're making specifically gets into that idea of like, man, are you violating their space? Is it not a little ironic?
Yeah, it's definitely ironic.
To the degree of not asking.
It's definitely ironic, and I think an intelligent show would play into that aspect, or at least kind of like acknowledge. Like I think there's sometimes shows or films that do a good job of indicting the audience. Which I don't know. We haven't seen the full season, so maybe that's where it ends up. I don't get the feeling that it will go there, at least in a satisfying way. But yeah, I mean, that's I think part of what keeps me from feeling like this is a fully realized retelling of this story, is that like I don't know if it feels like it fully has a point, as much as it just is existing to recreate familiar people and places in a tantalizing, sexual way.
But overall, it's been okay. I think Hulu in general has a lot of good stuff that they have on the horizon. We had kind of mentioned, but we're not going to get into the fact that through Disney Plus, and for many that's bundled, they had their big reveal, I guess, this week. Is it really a reveal when it's the same reveal every single time? It's like the same character that appears, but I know the Boba Fett show's been doing, I guess, numbers for them over there as well. So Disney, between Plus and the Hulu, have been doing pretty decent, I would say. Yeah,
no, I mean they've got a whole bunch of eyeballs on different platforms now, you know.
Mhm.
And we have a few films from Sundance that we like that are going to show up on Hulu too. So interesting stuff still coming from Disney, different
Mhm.
different avenues.
But in terms of the other shows, I don't know if you wanted to get into any specific service. We had some from HBO. We had some from Netflix. We even had some
Let's
finales over on Showtime.
let's start out over with the less spoilery one in Murderville, the new comedy show that popped up on Netflix that I was kind of excited to see. It's an intriguing premise. Basically, Will Arnett plays this detective who on every episode of the show has a different murder to solve, and he is joined by a guest star playing his co-detective. Only the guest star isn't given a script and kind of just has to improv along with the story. So it's this sort of funny situational thing. I think almost like you can say it's almost like mixed with an escape room element, because the guest star then also has to come up with who the murderer is by the end of the episode. So they're not just acting along comedically, they're also trying to pick up clues and then solve it in the end. So it's got this interesting mix of elements. I think once you watch a few of them, you kind of see the formula they're going for, and you know, there's episodes where they hit it better and episodes where they don't hit it as well. It also really is reliant on how good the guest star is and how
Yeah.
willing they are to play along, or how overwhelmed they get in certain moments. You know, Ken Jeong shows up in the last one, and he's a guy who very easily breaks, which might not be the best if you're watching for the improv, but is kind of funny just to watch for the situational humor of it.
Oh, maybe you watch. Maybe you watch for that as well. I like when people break.
Exactly. That's sometimes the funniest part of it. Like for me, in Kumail's episode, the funniest parts are when they're breaking.
Yeah.
I found it pretty delightful. I'm not sure it's fully honed in, but I feel like maybe with another season they would even tighten it up more. But I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching all 6 episodes. What do you think?
I thought it was pretty funny. One of my favorite episodes would be the one you were saving for me, which was the Marshawn Lynch episode. They need to have this man
Detective
on a lot
Bagovich.
more things. I thought it worked really well in the sense that you are there also trying to get the clues, right? It's
Right.
almost like one of those mystery books where right at the end they kind of wrap up everything for you. At the end, letting you know what clues you might have missed, where were the red herrings as well
Right.
that made you think that was the person. And it's almost like an interactive board game streaming, but also as a show where you could just follow along if you wanted to. But I think it's really fun to play along with them. It's really cool to see kind of like the storylines that they carry from episode to episode, because while the cameo doesn't know what's going on, they're kind of like there's a divorce plot line that's been going on between 2 characters that work at the precinct. There's just like reoccurring jokes that will come back later, and I think it would be really interesting to see what they do with the season 2 as they're able to expand that lore as well, and how people have to play within it. But it's a fun show to put on.
The more silliness they pack in to kind of keep the guest on their toes, I think the better the show is. So again,
Yep.
I just think there's a lot of potential there. So I'd like to see them make some more of it.
Agreed.
So yeah, I think Murderville was pretty good. I do think we want to get into Yellowjackets and we want to get into Euphoria, but because those are a little bit spoilery, maybe we'll save them for the latter half of our episode. Let's do a quick look at the new to see, talking about what is available now in theaters and on streaming, as well as what is coming soon. So take a look over at this sheet here. Let me scroll to the right place. Oh, wait. I put up the run document. I'm a little bit jumbled right now. Let's go back to January 27th. That's where I was looking for. So this is back when Sundance was almost over. Oh, there we go. As Sundance was wrapping up, there was some interesting stuff hitting theaters, but more interesting, hitting HBO Max, the movie that we really enjoyed out of South by Southwest last year, The Fallout, starring Jenny Ortega and Maddie Ziegler, finally available on HBO Max. Art, you haven't had a chance to catch up with this one, or re-catch up with this one, I should say, have you?
Yeah, no, we were out, so this came out right in a jam-packed day for Sundance. But I'm looking forward to catching this one again because it was one of our standouts coming out of South by. I thought Jenna, since then, has garnered herself up some pretty prolific roles, and she still has some really good stuff that's going to come up. Some that are even going to premiere at this new South by Southwest in just a month or so. So
Yeah.
this is definitely a movie that, with it being on streaming, I'm very curious to see how it will build up. Because I feel like a lot of the stuff from South by from this selection got picked up by streamers. I mean, a lot of the stuff from a lot of the festivals we've been have been getting picked up from streamers. But seeing just how they play, like, would it do better if it actually had the theatrical or not?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it
but
does feel a little bit like a drop in the bucket landing on HBO Max.
yeah, a lot of these.
Maybe they're not promoting it enough either. But like, I thought this was a movie that did have the potential to resonate a little. And like, there's so many fans of Jenna that like there are those people out there who are carrying the torch for this movie. But I don't know. I thought it was a pretty effective film. I'm a little surprised it's getting so little
The way that
play.
it's been released.
Yeah.
It's also in January. It's such a weird time to release it. Like,
Yeah.
regardless of where you're releasing it to, just as a January film at the end of January. I don't know, like you're leading into what would be Valentine's Day in just a couple of weeks. So I don't
Yeah.
see what crowd it technically plays to, but I don't know. That's HBO
Yeah.
Max. Sorry.
Yeah, Pink Sweets mentions that they didn't see a trailer or read the synopsis, so they were caught off guard and ended up loving it. Glad to hear that, because I think it's a really effective film.
Yep.
Also out on January 7th was The Conductor in theaters, Mott Means Land on Movie, and Soy Georgina on Netflix. Then on January 28th, we had The American King in theaters, The Beatles Get Back rooftop concert. I think this might have just been a preview in IMAX, but it's coming out fully this weekend. I actually got my tickets to see it Wednesday. I'm doing my
Oh, you got the tickets?
yeah, I'm going to see the concert, going to do that IMAX experience. I got to take advantage of that A-list now that you got me on there.
Bro, I told you, watch as many as you can.
Yeah. Then also Brighton 4th came out on January 28th. That was one that I caught at last year's Tribeca Film Festival. I thought was pretty interesting. I think it's a Georgian film, interesting character study on masculinity. Clean, another Tribeca movie. This one from Adrian Brody. I've heard it's pretty bad, but
Okay.
might be some people's cup of tea. Cyrano, the ever disappearing Cyrano. Is it actually in theaters?
It got moved.
Got moved from
Nope,
when I
it
put
got
this
moved to the end of this month. Yeah, so we won't be seeing this until I want to say the 27th, 25th. But
Evil at the Door hits digital and VOD. Feels Good Man hits movie. We like that documentary.
very good.
Futura hits theaters, or at least some theaters. Home Team ended up on Netflix. I actually didn't mention Home Team, but I caught it and thought it was very okay. I mean, obviously, the Happy Madison films are a little bit hit or miss in terms of their style of humor. They're very juvenile. They're very, grotesque in some ways. They're very fart and vomit reliant. But this one's a kids movie. This is like literally a PG kids movie, sports movie. The most interesting thing about it, the reason that I was kind of curious about it, do you know what this movie is about?
No, I just know that it was on Netflix. That's all I know about this movie.
So this movie is
and Kevin James.
This movie is about NFL head coach Sean Payton, who was suspended for a year from the NFL for running a scandal where he would pay players extra to injure opposing players. And then in his off time, he coached his kids' team. And they're turning that whole era of his life into this heartwarming kids movie. And they just glance over that whole other aspect of it. Just that whole that exists, I think, is so bizarre. Sean Payton plays a janitor in the movie.
They don't cover that in the movie.
They mention it. It's a quick like news highlight. It's like, oh, he's been suspended for Bountygate, and they never mention it again.
It's like an OJ movie, and they're like, he took a really big ride in a Bronco. And that's all that's mentioned about that moment in his life.
OJ experienced a lot of legal troubles, and then it's about him coaching his son's team.
He
It's
moved to
kind of
Miami thereafter.
yeah, it's kind of cute
Okay,
though. I
so
feel like if I was
I
like
didn't
a
even
little
realize it was
boy,
a
I would
true
enjoy
story.
it. Yeah, I mean, based on a true story. I don't know how true any movie starring Kevin James really is, but like,
Reportedly, allegedly. This is why he didn't do Hotel Transformania. Okay.
yeah, I mean,
I'll put it on my radar, Zach. If it pops up again on autoplay, I'll let it play.
all right, cool. Getting back into the films that have hit theaters um, or streaming. There's In From the Cold on Netflix, as well as The Orbital Children, The Requiem in theaters, VOD, and digital. Rifkin's Festival. It's the latest from Woody Allen. Did you catch the latest Woody Allen movie?
No, but now I know why Rifkin's Festival was a title that was on my radar.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
We got a couple emails asking if we want to screen her. I have a little bit of morbid curiosity, but I did not send that email. Want everybody to
All
know
right.
that I did not send that email. La Solga Salvation hits theaters, as well as Sundown, the latest from Michel Franco. We were not big fans of his last one, New Order, but I'm hearing this one is much better.
I didn't hate New Order. I thought his
Yeah.
perspective was dumb as can be.
Exactly.
This looks like a good performance by Tim Roth, and
Exactly.
we just came out of a great performance from him at South by or Sundance. So I'm very curious to catch this.
Netflix also released The Woman in the House across the street from the girl in the window. A lot of people did not realize this one was a satire, I guess.
I don't know what Anna McKay world they're living in, but this was very obviously a satire. The worst part in it is that doesn't really make you laugh, nor does it make you think. And those
Yeah.
are like the only two things a satire needs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Just because it's labeled as a satire doesn't mean
So
it's
easy.
effective as a satire.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
I think our friend
But it's
Amanda
okay.
the Jedi.
I don't think it's bad.
I think our friend Amanda the Jedi put out a video on it recently, actually.
She didn't like it, right?
Yeah, I don't think she did.
I don't think it's a terrible show. It just is not as effective as it thinks it is. I don't know. Do you remember these? The super bad 40-year-old version who didn't
Yeah.
have. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, epic movie.
I Know What You Did, Last Shriek.
superhero
Scream.
movie.
Where they just combine everything together,
Date
and you're like at the
movie.
Blockbuster,
Yeah.
and they got rid of the 3-day rental, so you got to get stuck with the.
Yeah.
That's what this is for Netflix.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So comes back around.
On January 31st, Black Medusa hit Mubi and Help hit Acorn TV. On February
Finally.
1st, City of Vultures 2 hit VOD, Lockdown hit VOD, and Raising Dion Season 2 hit Netflix. Did you watch the first season of Raising Dion?
Dion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the first one. It's got one of the funniest bits. I'm not in a rush to catch two, but bro, they put this boy on wires, and Dion, you could see exactly where every single wire was hanging from him, and I'm like, y'all screen this and then let it be put up on Netflix. It is one of my favorite Netflix clips of all time. I'm not
That's
dying
not
to see
where
what
their
happens.
budget went?
No, that is not where their budget went. But it's supposed to be a cute little superhero kids. More of a family thing where Dion doesn't realize what happened to his father, and there's a whole backstory there that season 2 is supposed to flesh out on how they got these superpowers. So I might have to, for the story, wrap it up. But
for the story.
hopefully they deliver another good shot.
February 2nd, Pam and Tommy hit Hulu. We've just talked about Pam and Tommy. But Polystyrene, I Am a Cliche hit theaters, and you caught that one back at South by Southwest last year.
Yep, really solid doc. I definitely, I don't know where this feels like a movie selection that would be put on streaming. I think it's definitely worth the watch just to see just like all the stuff that she did as an artist. Because if I'm not mistaken, this was the one where the daughter was reflecting back on her mom.
Yeah.
But really good story.
Let's jump to February 4th, where Air Doll hit theaters and VOD. That's the latest from Hirokazu Koreeda, who did Shoplifters. I'm a little surprised more people have been talking about this one. But maybe there's a
ever
reason
since
for that.
Shoplifters, all of his follow-up films have kind of just been left in the dust.
Yeah. Alone with You hit theaters. Jackass 4 hit theaters. We talked about that. Last Survivors on theaters and VOD. Lingui, The Sacred Bonds hits theaters. This one's got some pretty good reviews, so I'm kind of curious about it.
Yeah, this one
Moonfall-
played at Chicago.
Yeah. Moonfall, which we talked about, also in theaters. The Other Me, theaters and digital with Jim Sturgis. Then Sweet Magnolia Season 2 is on Netflix. And lastly, The Worst Person in the World, finally in theaters on the coasts in New York and LA. eventually, maybe in a theater near you. Even though it's
One day.
one of the best movies of last year, it's only out now in February.
I hope we talk about it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I do
As we
too.
rightfully should.
I do too. Let's get into a couple more. The Conductor hit VOD on February 7th, and on February 8th, Bite Me, Exorcist Vengeance, The Fabulous Filipino Brothers, A Grand Romantic Gesture, and The Rising Tiger. Yeah, the only one I saw here was The Fabulous Filipino Brothers. That one was fun.
Yeah, that one played at South by. It was a pretty cute little story where the whole family gets together.
Actually...
They were really excited for the theatrical one, and they had a flip digital VOD. They did not complain. They embraced it. So
yeah, so
shout out to them.
Yeah, that one's out tomorrow if anybody's curious about that. Available on Thursday, All the Moons is on Shudder, but then really interestingly, Kimmy, the latest from Steven Soderbergh, goes straight to HBO Max. This is a
second time
riff on Alexa and smart devices and stuff like that, starring Zoe Kravitz. I'm kind of really excited about Kimmy.
Same. I just popped up in my screeners app, so that's one of the ones that I wanted to get into.
Ooh,
Steven Soderbergh seems to have he seems to be really comfortable in that HBO Max bubble. I guess he gets to be more creative, has to worry about less things if it's not going theatrical, and it's not like Steven can't make another Magic Mike or something else that he could easily play in theaters. But I'm always excited to see the next Soderbergh project, and the trailer looked pretty solid, so looking forward to it.
All right, just a couple more here. If we go to February 11th, Black Light with Liam Neeson hits theaters. Catch the Fair One hits theaters. That was a movie that we caught at Tribeca last year, and I think got some Gotham Awards love. Solid thriller from Joseph Vladika. There's Cosmic Dawn hitting theaters in VOD. That one has Camille Rowan, Emmanuel Shikri.
MGMT.
Death on the Nile hits theaters this Friday. In 70 millimeter in some places. Art, you trying to see that bad boy in 70 millimeter?
I don't know if there's a Dolby 70 millimeter, so I'm trying to catch it in Dolby before I catch it in 70 millimeter.
Yeah. We also got Dollface season 2 hitting Hulu. It's a binge watch. Did you catch the first season of the Kat Dennings show?
I did not.
I think Caitlin caught it and thought it was okay. Fabian going to the dogs in theaters. Give Her Take in theaters. I Want You Back hits Amazon Prime Video. We have a screener link sitting in our inboxes. We should probably get around to watching that one, huh?
Yeah, I was about to catch that one. They just had another one that just came out, Book of Love with Sam Claflin, where he wrote a book, bestseller in Mexico, doesn't realize that it's because the person who adapted it or who translated it made a completely different book, and that's what made it so popular. So you do have a couple of good, cute little Amazon Prime movies, and they even have one coming out right now. So Book of Love came out last week. This week it's the Joey King, I think, is in a movie for Amazon Prime as well. You may be mentioning it in a little bit, but then I Want You Back as well. So they've got the rom-coms down.
I really like the cast in I Want You Back. Charlie Day, Jenny Slate, Gina Rodriguez, Dylan Galula, Manny Jacinto. Comes from Jason Orley, who did Big Time Adolescence. Interesting lineup there.
There you go.
Also, Inventing Anna with Julia Garner is going to pop up on Netflix. I have a feeling that's going to be a Netflix hit. I'm not sure it's going to be good, but it's going to be. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that goes semi-viral because it's on Netflix. Marry Me hits theaters. That one's with J-Lo and Owen Wilson. It's also going to be available on Peacock, isn't it?
Yeah, who would have thought? But same day and date release right there. They're going all out with having this on the platform. Then they're going to have the Super Bowl on the platform, and then they're going to have the premiere of Bel Air. So a big push for Peacock this month.
There's also The Pact in theaters, Playground in theaters, Sumayon Virtual, Super Cool in theaters and VOD, A Week in Paradise in theaters and VOD, What About Love in theaters, and The Worst Person in the World will expand, as well as the documentary Worst of First, The True Story of Z100 New York on VOD. Which of these February 11th releases feels like the best Valentine's Day movie to take your loved one to? Which one are you and Alina going to go out to?
Death on the Nile. You got to go see the greatest detective in the world. 70 millimeter Dolby IMAX.
Bring enough champagne to fill the Nile.
I mean, to a degree. Look, if you're going to go into theaters, probably Death on the Nile is the biggest release for that week. But if you can see Marry Me, if you're going to watch someone, why would that not be in the comfort of your own home, right?
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, still pandemic. Catch that. Go on Prime. Yeah. I Want You Back. You got some really good double features you can watch at home. No need to leave the house.
Exactly. And as you
Unless for the
mentioned,
greatest detective in the world, Zach. So Death on the Nile.
and as you mentioned, Bel Air is coming out on February 13th, right after that Super Bowl. It's sort of an interesting strategy because I think technically speaking, the Super Bowl is on cable, so they're expecting people to turn off their cable and head over to Peacock or watch the Super Bowl through Peacock, I guess. But
I think that one.
it's also like kind of the strategy Netflix used for their Cloverfield release a few years ago, because it's not like people were watching the Super Bowl on Netflix.
Well, I'm expecting Kendrick Lamar to do that, to just perform and then just say the album's out right now, go stream it. That'd be fire.
Yeah, we will see how many surprise releases we get this Super Bowl. All right, so before we wrap things up here, wanted to talk about a couple of shows that are on our mind, stuff that is either wrapped up or almost all the way wrapped up. So in our topic of the week, let's divide it up between Yellowjackets and Euphoria. You want to start it out with Yellowjackets since you got to wrap that one up finally?
Yeah, no, this was probably the biggest thing that I've been watching on Showtime. It is worth going into that crappy app, just being able to, manage it for 5 minutes to be able to click the newest episode of Yellowjackets, because they actually have some good content over there. Yellowjackets is the story of a soccer team. I'm forgetting what specific town they are from, but
Somewhere
as they're
in New
flying
Jersey.
over there on that coast, and they get stuck, if you don't know. It's a lot of mountains in that area, and as they're flying over to their championship game, they all get stranded in the middle of nowhere. Interesting thing about the show is you kind of have this lost thing going on between flashbacks and present day, and where you're actually following all of the girls who survived, maybe supposedly grown up, trying to live their lives while someone is after them. Fascinating show, and a finale that just leaves you with more damn questions. So it definitely has me peaked as a Lost fan. Uh, for me, it's hitting every note that it needs to from that aspect. You have a cast that is fantastic, but also characters that you're intrigued by. You have characters that can make a mistake, and you're still kind of like curious to see what they're going to do the next time around. Characters who are complete psychopaths, but at the same time, you know that they may be the only person who can help out one of the other characters you do enjoy. I think it's a fantastic show that's shot beautifully. The score is fantastic, and I'm hoping that they're able to carry this as long as they need it to. I don't want it to overstay its welcome, because a lot of these shows tend to do that and they have to drag out lore, but it definitely seems like they have a tight-knit couple of seasons set that when you rewatch probably after 3, we're going to know what all of the symbols are that were left behind. When you rewatch a scene and you realize, oh, actually it may have been somebody else behind a certain mask. But season 1, I think, is a perfect example of what Showtime has to offer. They just need to be able to reach out to people better, because this is a show that actually had people talking while it was streaming the same time that Dexter was coming back. And no one talked about Dexter.
No,
And people were talking about Yellowjackets. I don't even know if they were seeing Yellowjackets on Showtime, but people were watching the show.
it was
You know what I mean?
pretty organic hit. I don't feel like it had this crazy advertising push or anything,
Nope.
and it certainly doesn't have
Word
the
of
types
mouth.
of like movie stars or whatever that you would expect to drive a huge word of mouth hit like this. But it's just a pretty cool show that is delivering on a lot of levels. I think it's got this very cool thriller aspect, the survival aspect to it of these girls trying to pull themselves together after a plane crash, but then also it keeps hinting at these more fantastical elements or sci-fi elements, and like Lost, I think it's very smartly slow playing any sort of mystical happenings
Yeah.
on the show.
You buy into that?
I mean, that's the thing is, I think if it dove too deeply into it too quickly, I might not buy it. There's some moments that happen where I'm a little bit like, all right, what's happening here? This is a little silly, but like I kind of like the mystery of it, and I think as long as they kind of dole it out sparingly and don't overindulge it, I'm gonna play along with it because it's intriguing enough. I don't want this to be set on some alternate world, but if there's just a little bit of surrealism in there, I can dig it and I can roll with it. I, like you, am just hoping they keep this pretty tight and have a lot of this figured out because
Hmm.
they don't want to run into the Lost problem of dragging it out and then working too hard to try and like put all the loose ends together in satisfying
Hmm.
ways. I hope TV writers have all learned since then. So I'm assuming they have some pretty cool plans in store for the rest. They keep talking about all their plans for season 2. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying the ride. I don't necessarily think like it's edge of your seat thriller, but it's really enjoyable, kind of pulpy, and the performances are very good. So I'm with it still. I definitely I really want to know what's happening next.
Same. It has my recommendation for the weekly watch binge, so put it on your radar because I think it's worth catching up on.
Yeah. Uh, Zach Artuso in the comments saying I need more '90s actors in the next season. That's
Hmm.
smart. I feel like along with all the '90s needle drops, which some of my favorites in the show, like I think that's part of why I love it so much. Is it's all the songs that I never really owned, but I memorized from listening to the radio.
Hmm.
So yeah. And Ricky's saying Yellowjackets wasn't pushed enough. I could see that. Like it is kind of holding its hand. I think a lot of people were expecting, some big kind of revelations in those final episodes that were maybe a little bloodier. And
Hmm.
there was a big thing that happened in that final episode in terms of the dynamic between the girls, but it was a little more interpersonal than violent,
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for more Yellowjackets. I know you are too. But what we're definitely more excited for is more Euphoria because it is now 5 episodes into its second season. Do you know how many episodes this season is going to be?
I'm hoping they keep it to the same 10. I think last season's was 10, if not 8. So I guess they're both 8 then?
I think they're both 8. Yeah, which
Okay.
means we're running out of room, running out of real estate to hang out with Rue and Jules and everyone over at the
Yeah.
Euphoria High School. Uh,
So this time around for season 2, I personally think that they've doubled down on all the euphorisms, I think is
yeah,
how a lot of people have been phrasing it. It's technically on a whole other level. I love the way that they've been filming it, literally putting it on film, a lot of the techniques that they've used. And I will give it the credit that I think emotionally it has charged up its characters to have some of like just literally tipping point moments, just where they're mere seconds of breaking down, if not breaking somebody else down, breaking somebody's face, uh, beating it to a pulp. But I don't think it's as smartly written as the first season is. And I think that's where the biggest downfall for season 2 is. I felt that season 1 did a really good job at putting you at the headspace of all of these different characters who were residing in the school, who all came from different backgrounds. I never made it seem like, oh no, this is taking too much of a detour. This is a whole other story. It was able to blend it all well together with the way that the episodes were structured, of it being the intro flashback, what they're going through in the present, how that bleeds into the present day for everybody there at the school. There's a lot of big swings. I'm not necessarily going to say that they're misses, because when you're dealing with a TV show, you could just answer or flesh something else out a little bit more in a future episode.
yeah.
But they're very loaded. Every episode has been pretty big. Every single time an episode ends, someone swears a character has died, and it trends for a little bit, and then we come in the next season and everything's
Just fine.
okay, I guess, if not worse. Well, sometimes you come back and you're like, actually, it would have been better if that character died. So for that, I will say that this season has been as effective as the first season in getting people's attention, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel people discuss these episodes on a regular basis as soon as they finish and throughout the week. It has completely entered our meme culture, our social
Yeah.
media culture, reaction culture. And I would say performance-wise, if season 1 was able to garner not just nominations but wins for a small portion of the cast, I can see season 2 doing that for more of the cast that they have actually going out of the way
Mm-hmm.
to have not just bigger episodes but bigger storylines. I think what they've done with Casey this season is pretty much make her the one that a lot of people have been rooting for, especially with the most recent episode with the whole breakdown that happened. I think you're showing a show where you can get rid of some of the characters, and I want to say get rid of some of the characters, but you can put some characters on pause and still be able to carry a storyline because you've built up a pretty fleshed out world.
Yeah, I mean, I
I know
think
you hate it though.
yeah, I'm clearly the biggest Euphoria hater. I think it's interesting talking about how season 2 in some ways feels like it's doing some things more and better and maybe some things lesser. I think one thing that maybe has made season 2 suffer is what was really fun and kind of intoxicating about that first season of Euphoria is diving into these different characters' lives, and you get these really extended flashbacks and very kind of like writerly introductions to all the different characters with that Rue voiceover. You know, we had that one this year looking back at Fezco's life, and I don't think it's a surprise that that's an episode that a lot of people really resonated with. So when Euphoria doesn't do stuff like that, it kind of ends up being like a mishmash of following the different characters around in a way that maybe makes some of the episodes feel a little bit less focused. I thought this week's episode 5, did not have that problem. It felt extremely focused, and it's one of the reasons why it is maybe the standout episode of this season. Like it's an episode with a clear purpose and a clear narrative drive, and it's not one that is really like a bottle episode. It very smartly is able to weave in some of its other characters and some of its other storylines without being overbearing, but it kind of keeps the focus on Rue, and I thought very interestingly put her issues in contrast with everybody else's on the show, and shows how they're kind of not the same things. This was a really, really excellent episode this week, and I thought that, you know, it's definitely a clear case for Zendaya as just one of the absolute most magnetic stars working in film or television. She's so watchable and believable and charismatic, but also vulnerable. It's also a showcase of what works in Sam Levinson's writing. Like, I think he does some of these dramatic confrontations really well. I think sometimes when he allows the scene to sit in a place for a little bit longer than you expect, he's able to dive into his characters in a way that's really surprising. Like, I think the very slow beginning to this week's episode, the casual reveals of new characters who are around, is done very expertly, and then it ends up being maybe sloppier in other moments. But I thought this week's episode was like far and away the best of the season so far. Are you concerned? So Ricky mentions that it just got renewed for a third season, and it's kind of drudged up a bit of a discussion about like how long can we watch Rue go through these issues. Do you have any concerns about the longevity of a show like Euphoria?
I don't think the show should last more than 5 seasons, and I don't think the character of Rue can last more than 3.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they are writing her, there's just no way. Anything past 3 is just not a believable. If it hasn't already tipped that point. I think the shorter that it is, the better that the show will have longevity in terms of how it's looked back upon. But it should definitely not. This should not overstay its welcome. I mean, it's already a season that doesn't go past 10, so. Yeah, I don't think it should go past 5 for sure.
Yeah. I feel like hopefully they can be smart enough to write the characters in a way that extends their stories believably, but the way that they are writing Rue's self-destructive nature, there definitely feels like there has to be a limit to it. Like we talked about a similar issue in the context of BoJack, in that like how deep of a rock bottom can you hit before you just don't have any more rock bottoms to hit, and the show loses dramatic interest. And I think BoJack handled that situation in a very interesting way. I don't know if Euphoria is the type of show that can be that introspective, but Sam Levinson has surprised me, so maybe he has another trick up his sleeve in terms of where Euphoria is headed. It feels like in order to do the type of show that they're trying to do, there's a limit to how much they can put Rue through. And this was a tough week for you, girl. But I thought it was really, really effective.
Yeah, same.
Some disagreements in the comments over how effective this season is. Do you think the show is doing an adequate job for all of its characters? Because that's another thing that I felt so far in season 2 is the balance is not quite there the way that it was in season 1.
Um, a little bit. I feel even when you have a character who you give a lot of attention to, like Fez, I felt we paid so much attention to Fez in the first episode, and now he's kind of been a side character. I feel Alexi Demi, her character,
Mm-hmm.
has not had a lot of attention on this season.
Barbie
Plus, a lot
Ferrero.
of her moments have same, yeah. So, I mean, and that's only because we're what, 4 or 5 in already, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we were really able to get a lot of other people's stories by then. Even Jules, to a degree, obviously not too much because she has had enough,
Yeah.
but I feel like we haven't gone into her character a lot. I kind of feel like she just came back, and we haven't until this episode actually had a discussion about how the last season ended. So. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good, but it's also again dealing with the hype of what the first season had, going with it and kind of setting its own model. And if it doesn't fit its own model, then is that considered a negative? Uh, until you look back on it and see how it was able to build itself up. So
Yeah. I'm definitely curious to see what else we have for the remainder of this season because it's been quite enjoyable. But let's wrap things up here with some interview questions where we take questions from the intercuties. We're almost at the hour mark here. Hydrocats asked, "What are y'all looking forward to in 2022?" We talked about this a little bit on our best movies of 2021 video if you wanted to hop to the end of that. But now that we're in 2022 and we have taken a look at the release calendar, I don't know, is there anything looming that you're excited for? Something maybe on the South by Southwest lineup that you're excited for?
Not necessarily on the lineup as much as it is just going back to more festivals. I think
Yeah.
just the idea of being able to do the traveling, being able to go to those different theaters, that is something that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward having just seen the Dolby movie, seeing a lot more in IMAX and being able to have actual showings, selections. You know, in 2020 we had nothing. You'd be lucky if the theaters were even open. 2021 had a pretty decent bounce back, and I'm hoping that with 2022 we have a lot more accessibility. You know, so if they're playing, Top Gun, all these bigger movies, you were just talking about Death on the Nile, if you want to see it in 70 millimeter, I'm hoping that you have the ability to at least have the showing available, that screening selection. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to just going to the movies
Yeah.
more, I guess. Looking forward to the Batman, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
That's right around the horizon if you wanted a big one. But yeah, all exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, definitely being at the movies more because I think both of us were a little bit like slow to get back to movie theaters, but now we're full in, we're doing it, and we had our Sundance experience, which was great, but also like
You got the stubs.
yeah, I got my A list going, so we're gonna be in theaters a lot. Um, obviously Sundance, we didn't get the full theatrical experience, but it was still just so exciting to be doing the fest and be just binging movies. And I know we're excited to hopefully do that again. We're not going to travel to South by Southwest, but hopefully we'll be catching the South by Southwest movies. I think we're going to hopefully try and do TIFF or something like that. And maybe,
I'm
we'll
hoping.
see. It's going to be an exciting year. But in terms of the movies, uh, I'm excited for the return of Daniels. Speaking of South by Southwest, Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's definitely high on my list. Excited for the return of Scorsese because it looks like Apple is
Oh
just
yeah.
throwing a ton of money at him and saying like, give us something, anything. So Scorsese with Tim Cook's checkbook sounds like a good plan. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon. I'm sure we'll talk about all of it on the show. Devesh is asking if either of us have catched Mothering Sunday. And what movies have you seen recently that had a great first two thirds and completely lost it in the final third? Have you seen Mothering Sunday?
No, we actually had that playing over at the Chicago Fest, Chicago International Film Festival. I did not get to catch that link before it expired, but I know it comes out at the end of the month. Here, if I'm not mistaken, I was gonna try to catch that alongside whatever came out. Cyrano, I think, comes out the same day that gets its release here. But I was intrigued for that one, so that one is on my watch list. In terms of the what movie has set you up for two thirds and then fumbled it. Out of the
It's tough.
recent picks, I'm trying to think out of everything from Sundance because I figured of like there were a couple that kind of had us in the first half and then kind of disappointed us.
I don't know if I want to say like the final third is maybe a little bit too much, but you could say Zola a little bit here. The Zola ending fumbles it a little.
Well, it's not that the third half fumbles. It's just that you only
It
got
just
two
kind of
thirds,
ends.
and you feel like
Yeah.
you feel like you never got that third half. So that
Yeah.
would be a good point to make. Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah, I don't know if I can think of any other ones recently. I find,
I think Zola's a good pick.
yeah, because I didn't love the last third of Speak No Evil, but I didn't think it fumbled it by any means. It just was not. I liked the first 2/3 more. We'll think on that one. That's an interesting question. Pink Sweens mentioned that I can't remember if either of us watch anime, but Demon Slayer is back and Attack on Titan is ending. Are either of those shows on your radar? Because I'm not an anime person.
I'm not an anime person either, but I mean Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan I feel are like the biggest ones. I feel like those are the gateways. Yeah, those are the gateways that get people into them.
Yeah. Finally, Devesh also asked us final Oscar predictions or wild hopes. We'll dive a little bit deeper into this tomorrow morning before things really get started. But are there anything you mentioned? Worst person in the world. Are there any other Oscar predictions that you're at least keeping your fingers crossed for?
Compartment number 6, I guess, also an international.
Cool.
A twofer for Flea. A surprise pick for Best Picture that would be possibly an international, if not, I guess, Flea being the doc.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel movies sweeping in all categories.
Stop.
I would like to see the actress who did supporting in Tragedy of Macbeth surprise and get a supporting.
Turner.
That would be incredible. I would love Soho to get a sound nomination. I would love Dune to sweep up the technical categories. I'm trying to think, especially in terms of the acting categories. I don't know what I want for each of the 4, but I know I don't want them to screw up the actress category. Just the lead actress category. Do not mess that up. Please don't. There are so many ways to mess up that category. Do not mess up that category.
Yeah.
Please.
There's a lot of really great actress performances out there, and I have a feeling some of my favorite ones are not going to be recognized. Like, I would be really happy if either Alana Haim or Renate Renive from Worst Person in the World ends up in that final 5 for the actress nominees. I'm also keeping my fingers crossed that Drive My Car picks up at least 1 nomination, but maybe more. Like, it'd be really exciting to see that one.
No, it will. But like, what would be the other one? Second would be Best Picture, no?
I mean, yeah, it could get into Best Picture. It could maybe get a screenplay, or there's some people even saying like director. I don't think that's really going to happen. But director has nominated foreign directors quite a bit in the past few years. So.
Belfast hate. I want to see as little awards for Belfast as possible.
No acting awards for Belfast.
Outrageous and no acting, and say that they can get one of the actings in supporting, but none in directing. None in directing, none in script, even though I feel it will get script, but I definitely don't want to see it in directing.
Yeah.
That is probably the one that'll piss me off the most.
I won't be heartbroken if he's not in there, but I just kind of feel like there's probably going to be somebody nominated for Best Director who isn't as good at what they do as what Steven Spielberg is at what he does.
No, Steven's in. He's in. Yeah. There's no way. Like, there's just no way.
And then I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Mass and The Green Knight get at least 1 nomination. I don't really feel like they will, but like those are really wonderful movies that are getting overlooked this year.
Are you worried that Come On will have absolutely nothing?
I think I've kind of resigned myself to that fact. Yeah, that's another one that I'd love to see get in there, but for whatever reason, it does not seem to have resonated with awards bodies.
Do you have any worries in terms of something like the animated category, the, I don't know, songs? For me, I'm not worried about tomorrow what will be nominated as much as I'm worried about what will get the win. But in terms of animation, I just don't want them to screw over Mitchells and the Machines. I feel it's dumb that I even have to bring that up. But please don't forget that is a movie that should get... It happens. That's the problem. But yeah, no, overall, I'm excited to just see how they announce. It's always fun.
Yeah.
It's always usually a fun
If we
morning.
get any
Something goofy
more
happens.
dick poop situations.
More surprises of two leads being supporting actors. You never know.
Yeah. Lots of stuff to hopefully keep in mind. You know, we're gonna keep track of how many Oscars different movies get nominated for, and who are the snubs and who are the surprises, and you know, it's a lot to keep track of all at once. And I feel like when you're doing it and doing a live stream at the same time, your head swirls, but it's exciting, and like this is the morning that it all leads to. You know, we argue about this all year. Yeah.
Ready to go.
It'll be fun. Hopefully, y'all wake up with us to talk about which movies should have been nominated. It's going to be 8:18 Eastern, so 7:18 your time, and we're gonna hopefully be online by 8 a.m. Eastern. So we'll have a little bit of a window to talk about the movies that we expect to get nominated. Talk about what we're hoping to see, and talk more specifically about the Oscars, since we didn't really get that deep into it on this live stream. But as I mentioned, this is going to be our weekly what we're watching and new to see, and catching up with all the new releases. So if there's a movie you want us to talk about, make sure to let us know here, and let us know what you've been watching as well. It's going to be fun to do these live streams. I think we're aiming for like 3 p.m. Eastern to do this next week.
Yeah. I think that's usually the best time for the intercuties when they're coming out of work or school or whatever it is. Obviously, time zones jumble it all up, but aiming around that time, right after the week, box office numbers and everything is in, wrapping up on all the releases of the week.
Yeah. But I think that's about it for this week's stream. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by heading over to Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at ZShevich. Art, where can people catch more from you?
You can find me over at LME Explain on Twitter, tweeting about the moon and how it's falling along with the whole sky. On Letterboxd, where, I don't know, insert Jackass joke there, doing stunts all over in the review section, but every week here on the Intercut podcast.
You can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher. I like Overcast, and then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod. You can watch our bright smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of Intercut every Monday. And like, comment, subscribe. Consider heading over to iTunes to give us that much requested 5-star review. Shout out to our listeners in Pakistan for putting us on the TV and film podcast charts out there. Like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. Support our Patreon. All of them are at IntercutPod to get updates throughout the week. Also, follow our Discord, which you can see in the links in the description. You'll get updates from me, from Art, from all the guests that we feature here on Intercut. Thanks again for listening, and thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, do not attempt these stunts at home. Should have just said, like, do not attempt to review these movies at home or something. I gotta personalize it. We're not stunt people. We're film people. I don't know.
We're film people.